All right, guys, we're going to talk about the most important shot in the game. What is that, Adrian?
That would be a serve.
Most important shot in the game.
Serve.
That's right. Serve. Couple reasons. First, foremost, this is the only shot in the game where you are totally in control of your own destiny. You don't have to react to your opponent's shot. This is an opportunity for you to dictate. Start the point with the first strike that hurts your opponent, keeps you on the offensive, hopefully leads to a high success rate. All right, so the most important thing on the serve, the key to having a consistent serve, is this bloody toss, right? Having a consistent toss. The biggest problem that most players face is that they're not able to be accurate with their toss. What ends up happening is most players don't catch their toss as much as they should. It's kind of embarrassing, and it's just time consuming, and so you blow it off and you hit whatever toss you throw. And what ends up happening is that you end up practicing a bunch of different types of serves. Right? You're practicing a serve that's out to your right, you're practicing a serve that's back over your head, too far out in front, too far back. You know, and I think a really good analogy for any of you that play golf or have ever heard of Tiger Woods loves to play the drive off the tee, straight out in front of his left heel, right? In a good, comfortable position where he knows that that's where his club face is going to be at contact. Typically, he hits a good drive because of that. So if Tiger were going to be playing at the US Open or the Masters, on the first hole he was able to hit right there, but then on the second hole they said, you know, Mr. Woods, Tiger, you're going to have to hit it right here, in between the middle of your 2 feet, and a little bit closer to you. He's like, oh, geez, all right, well, maybe, yeah, I'm pretty good, I'm pretty talented. I can probably, oh, that wasn't a bad drive. All right, well, now on the third hole, you're going to have to hit it back here off your right heel, and even further out. So, you see where I'm going with that. That's what tennis players do to themselves. Tiger Woods is not going to do anything but hit his drive where he feels most comfortable, where he feels like he can be the most successful. And as a tennis player, you really owe it to yourself to do the same. So you have to be meticulous with where your toss is. First, you have to know where your toss should be. Once you know where it should be for your serve style, then you need to practice it. And this is something that you can practice in your room at home. You need to find a good, comfortable grip. You want to keep the ball resting in your fingers, not in your fingertips. If you get into fingertips, then you're going to flick the ball and it's going to spin. You almost got to pretend that you got like honey on your fingertips, like something sticky, and it's just not going to work. It's not going to allow you to release the ball freely and easily. My coach Gloria Connors, who was Jimmy Connors' coach, who some of you might know, might not, would make me throw a toss 10 times before I left practice at the end of the day, where I could read the logo. Right? I had to be able to release it and see how I got spent on that one. She would say that doesn't count. I got to get 10 good ones. So I'd have to throw it somewhat like that, where it's just basically not rotating at all. It's not easy, but it's something that allows you to be more accurate. All right, so I'm going to come up here to the baseline. Now, if I want my toss to be out in front, which I do, so that I can create this angle, right? I want to be able to hit down on this ball, bring it down into the court, over the net, into the box. So it needs to be out in front. I don't want it too far to the left. I don't want it too far to the right. Ideally, I want it right over and in front of my right shoulder as I rotate. That would be my optimum position. So if that's my optimum position, then if I draw a straight line down, then that basically is the bullseye of a target. A little area that I would hope to, where I could get the toss to where I can hit a successful serve. So now I need to practice that. The best way to do that is you can just put an extra racket down, or your rackets you have, and try to throw it up and get it to land on the strings. You guys can practice, like I said, you can practice the toss in your room, or on the couch while you're watching TV, or you know, you're on Facebook or MySpace and you're waiting for your buddy to IM you back. Or while you're waiting for that next girl's page to reload, you know, check out, she's putting new photos up, that kind of thing. Throw a few tosses. I want to edit that. So, anyway, you gotta have a consistent toss. There's the grip. The other thing is you don't want to have a bent arm. A lot of players try to toss with a bent arm, and what ends up happening is you end up hooking the toss. You really want this arm to be perfectly straight, hanging down at your waist, so that now it acts like this is the fulcrum, and it acts just like a lever, just like a one-arm bandit, like a slot machine. Just straight up and down, just like a mechanical lever, so that you can get a consistent toss. All right, so now once we've established a good toss, then we need to try and figure out what kind of a swing we want. All right, we've got a good grip, which is either a volley grip, a continental grip. I actually use a little more of a eastern grip, like what I would consider a backhand grip. I like something that's a little bit more closed at contact, because you want to be able to make contact on the ball. This is 12 o'clock, 1, 2. You want to try and make contact at 2 o'clock, up and over at 2 o'clock, in the upper right quadrant of this ball. You don't want to hit the center of the ball. You don't want to hit 4 o'clock. A lot of players, when they try to get spin, they're hitting at 4 o'clock, and the ball is it's like hovering. You know, it's just, there's nothing to bring it down. You need a little bit of that downward spin. So ideally you want side spin and downward spin. So a backhand or a continental grip allows me to do that. If I'm trying to hit with a forehand grip, a semi-western grip, I'm creating this type of an angle with my racket face. It's very hard to hit on top of the ball with this grip. You're creating an angle that really forcing you to hit basically under the ball, below the equator of the ball when you want to be above it. All right, so I've got a good grip. Now I want to go into a good motion, something that I can repeat. It should be the same motion all the time. The only way to perfect something is to repeat it over and over and over. You don't want to have a bunch of different motions. You want to practice one motion that you can lock into and you can repeat it a million times. All right, so I feel like the best way to start, obviously, is with a good grip and now a very loose hand. You don't want to be squeezing. I see a lot of people with white knuckles, very tense. You need to loosen up. You'll see a lot of pros actually before they get to the line. They'll be here and they'll kind of wiggle their racket, they'll jiggle, they'll shake it out because they know how important it is to be loose. I want my arm hanging, right, nice and loose. The best thing I think to do is from there go into a nice pendulum motion, right? My racket is just hanging, just like the metronome, where those things are. Maybe you're taking piano lessons. Okay, the pendulum is just swinging. Now from there I can get it up to a nice ready position. This would be a good ready to hit position. Now here from there, after I get to here, now I'm looking to get my toss out in front of my right shoulder, where at my optimum spot. Okay, so from there now what I'm looking to do after I get the ball in the optimum spot, so I'm looking to keep my head up, my left shoulder up, to make sure that I can make contact at the upper right quadrant, 2 o'clock, that I spoke of earlier. If I drop my left shoulder, if I drop my head, I'm going to make contact too low on the ball, and it's going to sail. All right, so the left shoulder has to be up. Now I want to try and incorporate a good shoulder turn, good shoulder rotation. For added power, I want to use my legs. I'm sure some of you guys have seen Andy Roddick play. I don't know if you've ever been on a site called tennis1.com, but you can go to photos of Roddick and you can get some still frames of him, and he's literally bent down, and his right elbow and his right shoulder are directly below his left shoulder. He's creating almost a perfect vertical line through his shoulders. That's how low he gets. So he's generating an enormous amount of energy, stored energy, and then he's exploding up and over. And that's really important for the serve. Very similar to a pitcher in baseball, right? Where they turn their back, they drop the right shoulder, and then they come up and over. That's where you're going to get all that added power. So I don't know if I really need to hit one, but I'll try. All right, so a lot of players will bring their foot up, and then they'll push off both feet. This is all personal preference, but I prefer to just stay with 2 feet. I felt like the more moving parts you have, the more variables, the more things that can go wrong, the more things that can happen with your timing, and things can go off. And as a player, you try to keep those variables as limited as possible, because once you start to go into some sort of a slump or timing issues and your success rate's down, you have less thing to try and fix. There's only a few components. So for me, I like to keep my feet stationary